afternoon to you, everyone. There we go. Well, good afternoon to you, everyone. I'm Tonya Hall. Thank you so much for joining us for this very special edition of News You Can Use. And here in the studio on her end and on my end is a civil rights icon, one that we love and adore, that no one in this country does not recognize the name. Who am I speaking of? I'm speaking of Miss Opal Lee, civil rights activist and icon. Miss Juneteenth, the grandmother of Juneteenth, is here with me today. Miss Opal Lee, how are you?
Alive and kicking. I don't guarantee I'm kicking high, but I'm kicking.
Kicking is enough, Miss Opal Lee. What a pleasure to have you here today. Welcome to News You Can Use KGGR.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, I know that you're busy, so I want to just give people just a few of your accolades because we'd be here to next year talking about them. She is, again, the civil rights icon, of course, the grandmother that started it all. The recognition of the national holiday, Juneteenth, established in 2021 by President Joe Biden. It all began when she was 89 years old. She walked an incredible 1,400 miles from Fort Worth to DC. And that's what began the journey of making Juneteenth an official holiday here all around America. And so we want to talk to you today, Miss Opal Lee, about what's coming up. You're bringing Opal Lee's Walk for Freedom to Dallas. We're so happy.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Let me clear this up. The walk was from Fort Worth to Washington, D.C., 1,400 miles. I did not walk 1,400 miles. I walked a few hundred, but that's all.
At
So
89, that's a long way.
I needed to clarify that.
Yes, ma'am. Well, listen, at 89 years, I'm 53 and I can't walk that many miles.
Yes, you can if you have to, and if you got a purpose, you can.
And that's the point. Absolutely. And that's the point. The purpose is what propelled you to do the miles you did. And we are so grateful for you for walking for freedom, Miss Opal Lee.
Thank you. Thank you. And you need to know it wasn't just Opal Lee. There were thousands of people who helped along the way, and so many more that signed the petition. So it's just not a me thing, it's a we thing, okay?
Absolutely. And the petition she speaks of is today has reached over 1.5 million signatures on that walk for freedom. And we're so grateful for you being our leader as we follow behind a mighty leader to freedom. Let's talk about your Opal's Walk for Freedom that's coming to Dallas, Texas. You know, you've always done it in Fort Worth, and now it's coming here to the city of Dallas.
Well, we are going to be at the African American Museum in Dallas. That's where we're going to start our 2.5 miles. Mm-hmm. And then the next year, we're going to be in Washington, D.C. and back in Fort Worth that third year. We just want everybody everywhere to be a part of this. And you can be, you don't have to be at the park, but if you get on the treadmill, or if you
virtually
walk around the school track, but if you just let us know about it, there's some kind of app, opalee.com or something, that you can let us know how you walked and how many miles. Want everybody to be a part of it.
Absolutely. And she's speaking of you don't have to be there physically, as she said. You can walk virtually with Opal Walks for Freedom. Go to opalswalk.com and register today. Again, that's opalswalk.com, and you can register to walk with Miss Opal Lee and thousands and hopefully millions of people around the country as she walks for freedom with Dallas, Texas, beginning Wednesday, June 19th. That's the day, a national holiday of Juneteenth. That walk begins at 9 a.m. at the African American Museum right there in sunny South Dallas, 3536 Grand Avenue. And again, to donate and to walk, you don't have to be there physically. You can go to opalswalk.com. Miss Opal, before we let you leave us, you know, they unveiled a beautiful portrait of honor for you out at the Texas Senate Chamber there in Austin. How did that feel?
I was elated. I really was. And then they've got one in Washington, D.C. too. In Texas, I'm in the chamber, and
Oh my
there's
God.
only one other Black in that chamber. Do you know who it was?
And who was that?
Oh my gosh. I was thinking that you could help me with that
You know what?
name.
I'll have to Google that. I'll have to see who that is in that chamber. But I'm sure it's someone that's in the activist realm.
Oh, wow. I tell you, at 97, you can't remember your own name some days. It'll come to me. I'll tell you.
Absolutely. Well, let's shift on over here. Let's talk about the latest recognition that you received, the nation's highest civilian honor you received, the Presidential Medal of Freedom from President Biden. So, what does that feel like? My goodness, that's amazing.
It feels awfully good. And I wish there were others who could have gotten that medal, because there are so many people who've done so many other things much greater than my walking from Fort Worth to DC. And so they need to be honored too. And this medal I want to share with everybody who's been responsible for walking to make Juneteenth a national holiday.
Absolutely. And we share it with you as, again, the grandmother of freedom. Let me put you all in touch with her latest effort coming up here on Juneteenth, Wednesday, June 19th. Remember, it's Opal's Walk for Freedom, Dallas, Texas. You know, we've been asking for it. Well, she's going to come out here. They're going to walk 2.5 miles from the African American Museum of Dallas. It symbolizes the 2.5 years it took before the slaves in Texas knew that they were actually free. So again, if you want to walk, that's next Wednesday, Juneteenth, 9 a.m., African American Museum, but you got to register. Go to opalswalk.com. And if you want to do it virtually, like I may have to do because I'm going to be in the studio at work, Miss Opal, I'm going to, at least if my feet aren't there, I'll be there virtually. So I'll be online. Opalswalk.com.
Thank you. Thank you. That's Barbara Jordan's picture that's in the Senate.
Barbara Jordan. Wow.
The name.
Wow.
Yes.
Absolutely. Now, let me ask you before we close out, what's next for you, Miss Opal Lee?
Oh, honey, there's so many things that need to be attended to. So I thought if I kept walking and talking, that somebody would listen. You see, there's homelessness that we need to address,
Yes.
and joblessness, and health care that some of us can get and others can't, and climate change that we are responsible for. We need to address these things as a body, not just Black people, not just Texans, but everybody is affected by these things. And we need to be sure that we can eradicate them. And I know we can. We're the richest country in the world, and there's no reason for us to have these discrepancies.
Yes. Now, how does it feel to, I saw the young man come on the screen. I'm assuming that probably may be someone that's along your bloodline. I know your granddaughter, Dion, is such a champion for you. So how does it feel to see your legacy being played out before, you get to the pearly gates?
Well, I'd have to go back and talk about my grandparents. I tell you, I had oh, the Reverend Z brought us and his wife, my grandma Maddie, and they had 19 children, and Grandpa preached all over Arkansas. But
Yeah.
he spoke, people listened. I mean, you'd have thought he was E.F. Hutton. And so I think some of him rubbed off on me and some of the rest of them, because if he told you, or if you had a task, you had to complete it come hell or high water. And I think maybe we got some of his DNA. I know my mom has, because grandpa, grandma, there was a lady in the community who didn't have any place to stay, and they just put a sheet across the room so she could have some privacy. And
Yeah.
when my mom left for Marshall, married, and grandpa would send somebody to her and tell her to look after them till they could get on their feet. So it's just sort of natural for us to do what we do. And besides, the Bible says we are our brother's keeper, so we have to obey.
Absolutely. Now, we're living in a time and age, Miss Opal, where things have changed a whole lot. Things are different. You got the younger generation that do things differently. What would be your message to the young folks that are listening about being a change agent like yourself?
Well, I want those young people to know that they should make themselves a committee of one,
Hmm.
change somebody's mind. We know people who aren't on the same page we are on. Change their minds. It's not going to happen in a day. You're going to have to work at it. But if people can be taught to hate, they can be taught to love. And
Yeah.
I'm wanting the young people to take that under advisement and change some minds.
Absolutely. You've been a teacher all of your life, and you're still teaching us even now. Tell us a little bit about who you were before you became the civil rights icon in the teaching era of things.
Oh, I tell you, I taught 8-year-olds third grade so long, I was beginning to act like them. So they gave me another position. I was the I was the visiting teacher. That meant if a child didn't have shoes or clothes or food, I was to alleviate that situation. And sometimes they didn't have a place to stay. So when I retired, that followed me. People still needed food and clothes. And so we started a food bank
Mm.
and it burned. And there was this huge complex up for sale in my neighborhood for $1,500,000. And I had nerve enough to ask for it. A group, our little group, asked for that facility,
Mm-hmm.
leased it to us for $4,000 a month. I nearly had a hemorrhage. Where are
Right.
we going to get it at $4,000?
That's expensive.
We paid it.
Mm.
And the month we didn't have it, those people came to us and said, we know you're doing a good job in this community. We know you're feeding 500 families a day, and they gave us that facility.
Wow.
That's when I could have done a holy dance.
Wow. That's when God bless. Isn't it how God shows up?
Yes, yes, yes.
Now, let me talk about another effort that I came to tears with. And this is just how God comes back full circle in our lives, Miss Opal. I heard that you were given back your family home that was taken from your family many years ago. Our God is a mighty God. Tell us about that experience.
Yes, he is. What happened was my parents worked real hard and they bought a house at 940 East Annie Street. And do you know, we'd been there about 5 days. And on the 19th of June, people started gathering. The paper says there was 500 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Police were there. My dad came from work with a gun, and the police told him if he busted a cap, they'd let the mob have us. Well, our parents sent us to friends several blocks away. They left under cover of darkness.
Mm-hmm.
Those people tore that place asunder. They drug the furniture out and burned it. They did despicable things. But our parents never, ever spoke to us about it. Not once. They worked extremely hard and bought another home in
Mm.
the 900 block of East Terrell Avenue, 926 East Terrell. And that's where I was when I finished high school.
Yes, ma'am.
I finished at 16, and my mom had planned me to send me back to Marshall, to Wiley. It's Wiley University now,
Okay.
but I got married. She was so disappointed.
Aw.
She would even go to the wedding at our church, Baker Chapel AME Church. And it took me 4 years and 4 babies to realize I was going to have to raise my husband too. So I cut my losses,
Yes.
home to my mother with 4 babies, and had nerve enough to say, I'm ready to go to college now. My mother said, I've got no money to send you to nobody's college. And then she said, I'll keep your children. Oh, I worked, I don't know how many jobs to get the money to go to Wiley in the fall.
When did you graduate?
It took me 3.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
When I did graduate, I came back to Fort Worth, got a job teaching. And have I told you, I taught 8-year-olds so long I was beginning to act like them.
That's what you told me. What a pleasure it was teaching those 8-year-olds. I understand you were a counselor as well. So you've
Yeah,
been teaching, for a long time. We are so blessed to have had you come here and honor us at News You Can Use KGGR. I want to run this by our audience one more time. Miss Opal Lee is having her Opal's Walk for Freedom. It's for the city of Dallas this time, Dallas. Now, don't y'all not come out this time. Show out for Miss Opal. Come out on Wednesday, Juneteenth. That's the National Juneteenth holiday. And you can register online to walk with Miss Opal Lee this Wednesday, June 19th at 9 a.m. The African American African American Museum in Dallas. Go to opalswalk.com. Again, register to walk at opalswalk.com. I'm going to give it to him again, Miss Opal. That's opalswalk.com. Miss Opal Lee, I think I'm gonna see you out there on Juneteenth. I can't wait to see you.
of course you will.
We love you and thank you so much for all you've done for us and many generations to come. Your footprints are indelible on this country's floor, and we really appreciate you for that.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Yes, ma'am. God bless you.
All right, bye now.
Well, everyone, that's another edition of News You Can Use, KGGR. Miss Opal Lee, the grandmother of freedom. Don't forget to go out and walk with her on Juneteenth, Wednesday, 9 a.m. It starts at the African American Museum, but you got to register. Go to opalswalk.com. For News You Can Use, I'm Tonya Hall right here on 1040 a.m. and 106.9 FM. Miss Opal Lee, oh my.